Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to round 4 of the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series, sponsored by WBM Racing. We are here at Laguna Seca to greet a packed field of GT3 race machinery to bring you some fantastic racing here tonight. Over 45 minutes yet to come here on the Pit Road Productions YouTube channel. It's me, Reese Gardner. Rob Campbell is alongside me in the commentary box and also handling production behind the scenes. It's been a great start to this season, Rob. We've had some great turnouts for these races, some great battles for victory. One thing is for sure, though, it's proving tough for anyone to beat Parker Dime out the front.
Yeah, I gave it a go last week, Reese, but unfortunately didn't work out for me. Only came home second. But yeah, Parker, this is race 4, so 3 races in. I believe he's won all 3, if I remember correctly. So strong showing by him to start this one off. I expect more of the same as I'm having a look at qualifying. It looks like he's surprise at the top of the standings right now.
Absolutely. He's been doing very well in that WBM Mustang, and a lot of the drivers, especially after the last round at Mugello, getting used to the new tires in the GT3 class. It's been a solid update for this class of car, and it hasn't really changed the style of racing that we've seen, but it has forced the drivers to maybe reconsider how they get their pace.
Yeah, you don't quite have the full edginess of the prototype cars that we saw last season that they introduced the new tires with them, but you do get a couple laps where it's a little dicey at the start. Some cars, I've tried a number of the different GT3s over the last week, Reese, and some of them are a little more edgy than others. The mid-motor cars seem to have a little more plantedness to them than say the Mustang or the Mercedes, the front engine rear drive cars seem to have a little less downforce on the back end, seem to have a little more unstableness to them, but it's definitely a challenge, and it's kind of fun. It makes the cars fun to drive again, compared to they were getting kind of boring the last few updates on them, where they're a little too easy to drive, a little overcompensating for skill level. Now you really you see the skill rising to the top.
Yeah, you certainly do. You also see the skilled drivers being able to manage that transition between the old tires and the new. Case in point being Parker Dime staying on top in the drivers' standings coming into this round. Well, it looks like qualifying is just about done, so we'll be seeing the standings on screen now. Parker Dime ahead of Dylan Newhart by quite some margin. That is a big points gap. Morgan Smith another 22 points behind to round out your top 3. Dilts and, well, us, apparently, rounding out the top 5 there. So we shall see if there's any big change in those standings coming out of this round. It's going to be a tough one, because Laguna Seca is notorious for being one of the toughest racetracks in the United States, and certainly on iRacing. Well, here comes the grid, and Dime, big surprise, is on pole position. Austin Dilts is joining him on the front row, with Dylan Newhart and Drew Trader starting on the second row. Morgan Smith and Ethan Reed are your third row, with Jacob Quayle in 7th, with new driver to the series, Dustin Neerhoof, in 8th place. Kelman Giori and Kyle Shelton will round out your top 10.
And then we're going to see Ryan Gleason in 11th. Luis Rios is going to start in 12th. Then in 13th place, we're going to find Fozzie Fazzillo. He'll have Scott Hara beside him. Adam Capps and Matt Murphy going to make up 15th and 16th place. Cayman Lackney in 17th. Anthony Roses in 18th. And John Holloway going to start tail of the field. But I don't see our fearless leader, Daniel Zippy Salmon. So I'm not sure if he's got back in time to join the session, Reese. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to get onto the grid before the clock runs out.
Yeah, I certainly hope that Zippy will be able to get in there. He was the Pit Road Productions team member designated to drive our Merc of Doom. So, well, we'll see if he manages to get in there. There are the WBM Mustangs taking their places at the front of the field in perfect synchronicity as the lights are about to come up and we can start our formation lap around this incredible circuit. We'll go into a little bit more detail about Laguna Seca as time goes on, but as as they start rolling away. Time to thank our title sponsor of this brilliant championship. Are you ready to turn your event into an unforgettable experience? At Elite Entertainment, they bring superior quality that keeps the dance floor packed. Whether it's a wedding, corporate event, private parties, karaoke, or music bingo at your local venues, their professional DJs know how to set the perfect vibe. Elite Entertainment covers Western North Carolina and Upstate South Carolina, so book now and let them make your event memorable. Big thanks to Elite Entertainment for bringing us this championship, and also to the crew at WBM Racing for lending their support to this series as well. They started off with more drivers filling the field, and now it's extended to full-on support of this championship. So, coming through the infield here, Rob, this is, well, I'd probably argue the most boring part of Laguna Seca, because they're about to get back onto the original circuit, which is where the roller coaster really begins.
Yeah, this, I don't know. I've always struggled at Laguna Seca, Reese, and it's this corner right here that they're coming up to. I believe it's turn 7, I think they call it. I always get confused whether it's turn 6 or 7, but that inside red turtle curb, I don't know how many times I've hit that thing and my race been over. So it'd be interesting to see if any of our drivers have the same troubles that I have here and hit that and go flying off into the sander. I guess it's more of a beach here since we're in sunny California, but up into the corkscrew and then down. I believe it's 5 flights down from the top of this corkscrew all the way down to the bottom. One day I'd like to actually take a car through there in real life and just kind of see the full vastness of the elevation drop through there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Something like 8 stories is the drop that you get from the corkscrew all the way down to the second last corner here. It's frankly insane here at Laguna Seca. Dylan Newhard has got Doug Heffernan on the car this time. Any King of Queens fans out there will certainly know that livery, but we're getting ready for the green flag. See what Newhart will be able to do out of 3rd place as Parker Dime leads us away for the start. Green flag at Laguna Seca, and it's a good start from Dime. Newhart, though, is challenging Austin Diltz for 2nd place up the inside into turn 1. Ethan Reed having to make way for Drew Trader, rounding out the last position in the top 4. Car off in the background, that's Luis Rios, who has jumped into the Mustang, and we will see. Oh, that's a big incident. Oh, that's a spin. That's Austin Diltz going off. He's off at the side of the circuit. A disastrous first lap.
Yeah, not the way Diltz wanted to start this one, starting in the front row, Reese, but we'll take a quick look here and see what happened to Austin. Oh, sorry, that was a little farther back there. Let's catch it here now. What happened to Austin? I believe it was just the cold tires, hit him, early on. The Mustang, one of those cars I mentioned I took out early on to try out the tires, and it is very dicey on the early laps of the Mustang. Probably one of the most dangerous cars to drive on the cold tires. And we can see just as that's happened to Parker Dime trying to nurse those cold tires, the rear-motored Porsche driven by Dylan Newhart just heats up the tires real well, plus all that added extra weight on the back end, able to add a little more traction. It's going to allow Dylan to get around and up to the front of the field.
Yeah, it was a very strange incident for Austin Diltz. I don't think I've ever seen a GT3 car spin like that at that turn at Laguna Seca before. But what it has meant is that Diltz is a long way off the rest of the field as the first lap is now complete, and Dylan Newhart has found his way into the lead versus Parker Dime. Now, this will be the biggest challenge that Parker has faced yet. I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out for him. Laguna Seca, always a difficult track to pass at, let alone make a lap around. And it's a huge pack that we're seeing here behind them. Battle for 5th place, headed up by Morgan Smith, but Quayle, Shelton, Bury and company, they are absolutely dragging it around here. It's close between Matt Murphy and Adam Capps as well. There goes Capps, popping up in the background for a move at turn 6. Difficult corner to pass at, but Capps managed to get it done.
Yeah, it was a nice move. Managed to get around Matt Murphy there early on in my nemesis corner. So well done by Adam Capps not to hammer that inside curb and go off. But now Murphy's seen some pressure from Luis Rios. You can see him flashing the front bumper and that onboard rear view camera that the Lambo has in the most inopportunistic position of the car. It really blocks out a lot of the side of the car, right side of the car when you're looking at it from the driver's cockpit area. But we'll see if Murphy's able to hold off that charge from Rios. But Rios looking to move up a couple spots, although Matt Murphy up 5 spots by via of that early incident that caught up Austin Diltz and a number of other drivers.
Certainly did. Well then, figure things out for the first part of the race. Because remember, this is a fixed setup series with a fuel tank restriction, so drivers will be required to pit for fuel. Question is when. It's not like at Mugello where you were able to stretch the tank out a little bit further and you had to worry a bit less because of the long lap times. It is a very short lap time here at Laguna Seca and a bit of a cramped circuit as well. So you've got to be careful about where you come out when you take your pit stop. Traffic can absolutely murder your race here.
Yeah, it's a real tight track, Reese. It's really confined. I can't remember the exact dimensions of the track as far as length on it, but it's a quick lap. We're seeing drivers put in 125 laps, which as far as a GT3 time is on the smaller end of the field, where you go to a big circuit like, say, Spa, where they're into the 2-minute 15s, 2-minute 17s. This is almost, I guess, about 65% of a lap time around Spa, so drivers really don't have much time to breathe. They really got to be on edge at all times and not hit any of those nasty turtle curbs, or the race could be over early.
You'll be happy to know I've done the conversion for you, Rob. 2.236 miles is how long Laguna Seca is. 3.6 kilometers, which is fairly average length for most racetracks. When it comes to higher profile venues, it's on the shorter side though. We will have Mr. Heffernan staring us in the face for a while here, focusing on the lead battle. Newhart keeping Parker Dine behind him for now, which I find interesting. This season so far, Parker has been nigh unstoppable. He's won every race so far this season. So Newhart has the best chance yet to topple that. We'll have to wait and see what Parker Dime has in store. The weather is looking like it'll be in favor of trying to look after the tires. The track temperature is 41 degrees Celsius out there. You see that there's not too much sun hitting the racetrack though, so the UV will be low. Have to strike a balance between pushing to get the heat into the tires and then trying to maintain that heat level without getting them too far over that horrific line of zero grip. It's a very tight fight here between our two leaders, and they are continuing to put time on the field. 3.9 seconds was the gap from first to third when they crossed the line last, and Dime is starting to gain on Newhart here through the infield.
Yeah, we saw Dylan able to open up a couple second gap over Parker Dime, while Parker had to kind of hold back and let the tires warm up. And now those tires are up to temp, he's putting a ton of pressure on the back of Dylan Newhart. So we'll see how young Newhart does with the pressure on the back end from Dime. Easy track to really lose your focus for a second. You can go off into the S's, as they would say, to kind of coin a YouTube channel that I follow for all my IMSA content. But Dime really putting a lot of pressure. They've dropped Ethan Reed, as you mentioned, about 3.4 seconds back. Ethan now just ahead of Morgan Smith. So a couple of WBM cars just in behind this battle. So actually it looks like it's 3 out of 4, the top 4 all WBM cars. So nice showing by that group so far, Reese.
Yeah, certainly. Ethan Reed, though, one of the more impressive starters in this field, up from 6th place to 3rd, and starting to come under a bit of pressure now from his teammate Morgan Smith, who I got very used to seeing in a Mustang, but since the tyre change, he's decided to switch to the Audi R8. We'll see if Laguna Seca benefits him in that car here, because the Audi has always had the reputation of being a car that doesn't handle curbs and bumps all that well. The curbs are nice and flat here at Laguna Seca, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem, but it's such an undulating circuit, especially up the back end, that Smith may struggle to keep the pace up versus Ethan Reed's McLaren.
Yeah, it looks like Drew Trader starting to close in a little bit on that pack. He was tight up on the back of Morgan Smith earlier on in the race. He kind of fell back a little bit, but looks to start to claw his way back up towards the front. Drew in the McLaren too as well. So Morgan Smith right now in a McLaren sandwich. It'll be interesting to see battle of the two mid-motor cars. The McLaren is one of the other cars that I took out for a drive, and it was it along with the Acura race was the two cars that I found really heated up the back tires really well. You'd almost push it like you could before early on in the race. So I'm not really surprised to see a couple of McLarens have moved up firmly into the top 5.
Yeah, traction is incredibly important at Laguna Seca as well, especially out of that super slow final corner. Gap between our leaders starting to come down a little bit more. 0.5 of a second gained by Parker Dime on Dylan Newhard, and he's very aggressive on the way into the first corner. Seems that Newhard was being a bit conservative there, but Ethan Reed has taken the fastest lap of the race, 122.5. That is quite the margin that he's just made up on our leaders. So it could be a three-way battle by the end if that pace is kept up, especially if Dylan Newhard keeps Parker Dime behind him, because clearly Parker's car is switched on now and he's starting to attack.
Yeah, Mustang really coming to life here now, Reese. It's a tight track though, really hard to overtake at Laguna. It's a lot of flowy corners, not really a lot of heavy braking sections. You got maybe the final corner and possibly into the Andretti hairpin where you can really make a move. But we see through the S is very comparable between the two cars driving through there. It looks like the Porsche with Newhard able to get into the throttle a little quicker out of the exits of the corner, where the Mustang and Dime just having to wait that a little extra half a second before he can really get back into the throttle. Doesn't want to lose the back end like we saw happen to Austin Diltz early on.
Yeah, Dylan using a bit more of the AstroTurf on the exit of the final corner that time. But that was a pretty even exit between the two of them. This time Newhard running about 0.5 faster than Dime on this lap. So an incredibly tight gap between our two leaders here. So we'll move through to Austin Diltz, who is on the recovery here, 14th place for the moment, and we'll see if he can get some of that pace back. Diltz, of course, starting on the front row, but he has gained a bit of damage from that incident on lap 1. I can actually hang on. If I'm not incorrect, look at that rear right when it comes into view. Is there some massive toe out there?
It's possible. Looks like he's got a little damage on the right front too as well there, Reese. The bumper's kind of caved in.
The rear right. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got...
How is that not a mechanical black flag?
I'm not sure how he's even driving that and not off track, Reese. I would think that thing's got to be a handful right now. You can see there, that tire is at least a good 30 degrees cambered or towed out on the right rear there.
What on earth? That's left me dumbfounded. I mean, obviously he's going to be struggling with a lot of overheating. That car's going to be tire is going to be constantly sliding. The fact that he's even circulating is a miracle at this stage. But hey, I guess if there's no mechanical black flag and you're still able to maintain a reasonable pace, you could get it repaired when you come into the pits and be hunky-dory from there. He's even thinking about making a move here on Cayman Lackney as he's caught up to Lackney and Neerhoof here for the top 12.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get much pressure from Lackney, teammate moving around. Actually, there as I say that, see Lackney pull the inside and he's going to let Austin Diltz go by. So I don't know. I'm going to be surprised to see. I'd love to know what his tire wear is, Reese, when he does come in to get his service and get that car repaired. I got to think that he's going to be losing at least a good 3, 4, maybe even 5% each lap with the way that car is cambered out.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Man. All right. Well, that's a developing story that we'll keep up with over the course of the race. Scott Harrah has found himself in the top 10, up from 14th. First time I think we've seen Harrah compete in the top 10 in such a big field. So, be interesting to see what he can do in the aerokinetics machine, as that's a spin from behind. Dustin Niehoff has found his way into the gravel trap. He'll be playing in that sand pit for a little bit and put some gravel onto the racetrack on the run up to the final corner. How did this happen for him? Oh, a bit of a snap in the middle of the corner. Very easy to happen in the penultimate turn.
Yeah, it looks like he just tapped the rear. I think it was possibly Matt Murphy, I believe, that he was behind. And just took a little bit of aero off the front end of that car, and around he went, Reese. I'm not ashamed to say I've done that a number of times, and I'll probably do it another number of times throughout my course of my driving career, I guess, here in iRacing.
Yeah, I've done it almost every time I've driven at Laguna Seca, I've got to tell you. It is a highly regarded track, and I understand why, but it's one of my least favorite to drive on. I can never seem to get the rhythm right around this place. Well, Dylan Newhart and Parker Dime don't have that issue, as deep into the final corner is Parker to try and set up a run out of the final turn. But Dylan Newhart's convincingly in the lead of the race. These two are putting huge gaps on the field. They lead by 5 seconds over the rest of our cars here, and a new fastest lap of the race has just gone to Parker Dime, first driver to get into the 1:21s on race pace.
I'm starting to wonder now, Reese, if Parker Dime potentially is on a fuel-saving mission here. We saw him catch back up to the back end of Dylan Newhart. Looked like he had a little more pace, or was potentially just really late braking into the corners. But potentially, I think he might just be trying to save a little fuel here, and realizes he has a little more pace than Dylan. If he can just kind of leapfrog him through the pit strategy, he'll be able to pull away from him after the pit cycle's through, and probably is a wise strategy here at Laguna Seca. You got your main competitor in front of you. You can see what he's doing. He's not running away from you. You're there with him. Just kind of drive a steady, solid pace, something that's comfortable, and just kind of leapfrog him through the strategy.
Yeah, it looks to be the case. Potentially either force Dylan Newhart to use a bit more fuel, or I think the end game of a potential fuel saving strategy would be that you can get yourself an overcut if you think you have a clear pace advantage. As actually Dylan Newhart responds very nicely, taking the fastest lap back with a 1:21.9. Yeah, if Parker can save fuel and maybe extend his stint by a couple of laps, then he can go hell for leather with a super light car after Newhart pits for a couple of laps, and that might give him the margin that he needs. Austin Diltz, with that decidedly sketchy-looking Mustang, is making a move into the top 9. He's passing Scott Harrah. Very well done indeed. It looks like Diltz has managed to drive around those obvious issues that the car is experiencing. But yeah, we'll see how we can go from here. Still got a bit under half an hour remaining in this race.
Now we're seeing a ton of debris starting to get thrown up on the track, Reese. This is probably a track that was maybe an afterthought when iRacing introduced the debris system onto the track, where you've got no grass anywhere to be found around here. You go off track and you're kicking all kinds of gravel up onto it, and we can see it looks like about through turn 4 to about turn 6, it looks more like a IRX rallycross track than it does a asphalt paved road course. But here we're focusing on Jacob Quayle, as Calvin Gorey the last couple laps been able to really close in and eat in some of that gap that Jacob Quayle have up ahead. I suspect if he keeps on this pace in another couple corners to half lap, he's going to be in striking distance of Jacob Quayle.
Yeah, indeed. Well, looks like Giori has jumped into the 122s again, but Jacob Quayle unable to get underneath a minute 23 on that lap. I got to say, the field is incredibly closely matched. the 122.7s seem to be the favorite in, the area outside the top three. Fastest lap between Quayle and Giori only separated by 100th of a second. And I mean, their pace is varying, but their ultimate pace seems quite close. So this might be another battle that will be sorted out in the pit cycle. Run up the hill, incredibly important. If you can snatch a tiny bit of slipstream on the way up to the corkscrew, you set yourself up for a nice run back down the hill. And there's where the track drops away. It is a fearsome corner at that point, and I'd argue that these corners even more fearsome than the corkscrew, because you've got to try and carry all of that speed through these bank corners with those anti-cut curbs looming. Oh, there goes into the pits Kalman Giori, and it looks like Morgan Smith is having an issue out on track. He's gone off at the final corner. I saw him fall down the order. I thought, oh, is he coming into the pits? No, apparently not. Big problem into the final corner there. Gets on the brakes, turns in, and it looks like the rear just broke free. Got a bit unsettled over the curb. Quayle is spun just now as well on live pictures. So it looks like Kalman Giori will pass him regardless of how his pit stop goes.
Yeah, it looked like, fortunately for Morgan, it looked like he was just carrying a little bit too much pace into turn 11, Reese, and lost the back end. Kind of similar to what we just saw happen here to Jacob Quayle into the Andretti hairpin. The cars are a little easier to drive once the tires get warmed up, but they do still have that little bit of edginess to them. If you try and get back into the throttle with the new tires, you can lose the back end, as you see Morgan Smith going off track again now as he's feeling some pressure from Kyle Shelton. Shelton up 5 spots from where he started, but a couple of those positions due to some drivers popping in for their pit stops early on. But well done right now by him, himself firmly up in the top 5, trying to take away 4th place from Morgan Smith.
And lap traffic has made Parker Dime our new race leader. Coming into turn 6 just a few moments ago, Dylan Newhart came across Anthony Rosas, who was going slow through the corner. And so he had to check up, and Parker Dime was able to power on through to the race lead.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm not seeing if anything happened to Rosa here in my timing and scoring. So I wonder if he just pulled over to maybe let them go by Reese, and it was just a little of an inopportune time for Dylan Newhart. But we'll see if he's able to save some fuel now in behind Parker Dime. It might be the best thing that actually happened to Dylan. He can tuck in behind there and get a little fuel savings off Parker.
Yeah, it seems a little bit hazardous. Oh dear, Drew Trader has come into the pits. He's actually towed 1.5 minutes ago. It was a big problem for him just a couple of minutes ago. Unsure exactly how it went down, but we'll get a quick look at that. Coming through the infield. Oh, he did the same thing just about that Diltz did on lap 1. That was head-on contact into the wall in the end of Drew Trader's race. It's a real shame. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's been any problems for Anthony Rosas if you discount just his general pace. Fastest laps at the front of the field, 1 minute 21.9. We're seeing Matt Murphy with a 1 minute 24 as his fastest lap. Anthony Rosas' fastest lap, a 1 minute 32. He is very much off the pace. I think he's just trying to circulate around the circuit. So that can become a bit of a hazard for drivers coming up to lap him. Smith, the next driver to come into the pit lane, as Parker Dime, now that he's ahead of Dylan Newhart, has really unlocked the pace of that car. And Morgan Smith, of course, would have been racing against his teammate there of Ethan Reed, suffering a spin himself as well. See if this pit stop can fix any of those issues that he's having. One of the drivers that has already spun in this race thus far, Dustin Neerhoof, big move up the inside. Adam Capps going wide to let him through, and Dustin is back into 8th.
Yeah, Adam up 6 spots right now, Reese. Again, a couple of them from early pit stops from other drivers, but strong showing for him into the top 10. Adam's usually in and around the mid-pack, so nice showing for him right now. But Dustin Neerhoff, a little quicker overall laps, 122.6 his best lap to Cap's 123.2. I suspect Adam realized that and didn't really want to hold him up took the better strategy to tuck in behind and allow Neerhoff to pull him up to Cayman Lackney up ahead.
Yeah, Neerhoff is taking some very wide lines there out of turn 6, and there we go. Lackney passing Scott Harrer as well. 2 other cars that have yet to come into the pit lane as things stand. Lackney up into 6th now. Nice to see, as there's the response from Scott Harrer. Into the pit lane comes the other McLaren. Now, pit stop times for the moment, they've been running about 10 to 12 seconds for most of the drivers that have come in so far. Enough to get enough fuel to get to the end of the race. As we've highlighted in pretty much every round we've broadcasted of this championship, tyres not necessary. GT3 tyres are very well constructed. They can last a long time, especially if you look after them. So I'd be surprised if anyone decides to change tyres. It just costs you too much in the pits.
Yeah, it's not an endurance enough race, although we're doing 45 minutes, which is generally on a little more of the longer end for a lot of the fixed leagues that we've broadcast across the past. A lot of times the fixed leagues run 30, 35, 40 minutes. 45 minutes a little bit longer, but as you said, these tires can go quite a ways, although I used up a fair bit of the fronts of the Mercedes last week at Mugello with only about 60% of the tire left, but it didn't feel like it was really going to let loose. Just didn't quite have the bite on the front end anymore, but I could have easily, if we were in an endurance race, could have went another full stint on the tires and not had any real qualms. But our leader's coming up on another lap car now. Scott Harrer coming back on track after his service. So as we mentioned, a quick lap around here, Reese. Harrer in and out for his service and now getting put a lap down. But again, our 2 leaders still have to come in to get their fuel for the end of the race. So Harrer will get that spot back eventually, but Newhart having to bleed a little bit of the throttle as they move around Harrer.
Yeah, that's what my reaction was. It seems like the exit of turn 6 is Dylan Newhart's least favorite place on the circuit right now. He was gaining back time on Parker Dime and making that lead battle closer, but he's going to have to wait a bit longer again here, as Kalman Giori is the next person to make his way past Adam Capps. It seems our league founder is having some trouble keeping up that pace in the Porsche. Giori, having already come into the pits, he is pushing hard, currently in 7th place.
Yeah, he's our highest ranked driver out of any of the drivers who come in for their pit service, Reese. So it'll be interesting to see where he cycles through once Neerhoff, Quayle, Shelton, and Ethan Reed come in, because they're all only about, they're all less than 30 seconds ahead of him. Ethan Reed about 38 seconds ahead of Kalman Giori. So he should be able to stay out ahead of Kalman or be right there with him when he comes back out. So could be a nice race shaping up for Kalman, possibly a top 3.
Yep, he'll be hoping at least. Checking back in with our leader out of turn 6. And oh dear, Dylan Newhart going off at turn 6 there, just beyond the curb. And this is one of the things that you might have to get used to coming onto iRacing from other sims that may have slightly more up-to-date versions of Laguna Seca. Ryan Gleason with a pass in his Ferrari there. Getting past Cayman Lackney. Newhart clobbered the curb at turn 6. Oh, not ideal. And Parker Dime's just come into the pit lane, and he's gotten a bit of damage on his front right. It looks like he pushed a bit too hard into the braking zone. I'll finally get my point out. Up the back end at Laguna Seca, in the real world, a few years ago, they added strips of tarmac either side of the circuit, which widens the potential lines you can take there. Not the case in iRacing, though. It's just gravel beyond the edges of the racetrack still, so you need to be careful of that.
Yeah, it's real edgy. I believe I was watching IMSA was here a few weeks back, maybe even a month ago now, if I remember correctly, the GT4 Pilot Challenge race. And Daniel Morad himself, a sim racer and IRL driver, was battling with one of the McLarens up through that section that you just mentioned, where we saw Dylan Newhart go off track, and he actually doored the McLaren beside him as he was trying to open up that curb, the laneway into that corner and avoid the curbing, and the McLaren went off and actually wrote the car off. That's just how tight the confines in through there, and there's really no room for error. You get a little off pace or off track, offline there, and your race can go easily from good to bad really quickly.
Certainly can. This has been a brutal circuit since the 1950s. Austin Dilts has come into the pit lane and his car is repaired. He now has the fastest lap of the race, and he's been running super quick over the last couple of laps. He's made his way back into the top 10, and with 5 cars ahead of him still yet to come into the pit lane, there's a potential for Dilts to move his way up. Considering that that's Smith ahead of him, who is also already pitted, I'm thinking it's going to be a net 6th or 5th potentially for Austin Dilts once the pit cycle finishes off. Considering his pace, he could finish even higher. Just needs to make his way past his WBM teammate, as well as Adam Capps, who is still struggling for pace there through the faster corners. Backing up Morgan Smith a little bit. Nice wide line on the way into the last corner there for Dilts, but he wasn't able to take advantage through the apex. Morgan Smith was still there and a bit parked on the apex himself.
Yeah, I suspect I'm actually amazed that Austin Dilts was able to get himself back up into the top 10 race before he even pit. Then there's Adam Capps. I was just going to say, we'd probably suspect Adam's going to pull over and let them through, as we've seen him do a number of times now. It's just a matter of getting around his teammate, but that's going to net him a P7. That's gained at least, my calculations, about 9 spots from where he ended up after lap 1. So what a recovery run from him. And as you mentioned, coming out, putting in the quickest lap early on after his pit stop. Interested to see how far he can get up into the grid. I don't suspect he'll have anything for the leaders, but definitely top 5 is in the cards potentially for Austin Dilts here.
Yes. Oh, and there's the pressure that has come to the fore for Morgan Smith. Austin Dilts will pass him on the way into the corkscrew. And Smith was trying to pressure him on the way into the braking zone, but the Mustang is supreme into the corner, and on the way down the hill, the gap will continue extending. Clear pace difference between these two drivers. And, well, we are now left with overall 5 cars still yet to come into the pit lane. See the traction out of the final corner from Morgan Smith now that rear right is not pointed all the way towards the outside of the car. A bit of a straighter exit is possible. We're still waiting on pit stops from Dylan Newhart, Ethan Reed, Jacob Quayle, and Dustin Neerhoof. So Austin Dilts is keeping the pace up nicely and should be able to benefit as Newhart comes into the lane.
Yeah, Doug Heffernan, aka Kevin James, coming in to get his pit stop down. Ethan Reed's going to come in too as well behind him, so I suspect we're at the tail end of the fuel load here. So Parker Dime should be coming around to collect up these drivers. We'll see if he's able to regain his top spot on the podium. About 17 seconds back of Ethan Reed, 26 seconds back of Dylan Newhart. So I think it's actually might be a little closer than I was anticipating coming out of the pits here as Parker Dime into the final corner. And I believe Dylan Newhart is just leaving his pit stall here now. There he goes. So the interesting thing here with Laguna Seca is the pit lane actually cycles back around through the inside, but Parker Dime, we see him off in the distance going around. He's going to regain top spot, but sometimes you can leave pit stall a little after the driver ahead of you goes around, but you got that inside line coming out of pit lane. You can actually pip that spot back on the pit exit.
Well, Dylan Newhart losing a lot of time to Parker Dime through that pit cycle. I think a couple of poor laps on his way into the pit lane, and actually, oh no. I thought that there might have been an incident for Newhart, but I don't think there was. Regardless, there's quite a big gap now between them, bigger than I expected. So Newhart's going to have to work extra hard to make his way back up to Parker. They're very well matched on pace, but I think Newhart's going to need a couple of miracles.
Yeah, he's going to need a mistake from Parker Dime, I think, Reese, to close that gap. But we got a battle here for P8. Jacob Quayle holding on to that spot. Kyle Shelton wanting to take it away. Shelton up one spot from where he qualified. Quayle down one spot. So very competitive drivers on pace from qualifying, and looks like they got very comparable race pace too as well, although Shelton getting a much better run through a turn 5 exit and up into the corkscrew they go. Not being close enough to make a move for Shelton here now, but if he can get a better exit, potentially could make a move into turn 11.
Out of the corkscrew comes Jacob Quayle. Kyle Shelton with a little more aggression over the curbs here. Mustang does seem nicely handled around here. Be aggressive on the way into the penultimate turn, but a little bit wide of the curb, not ideal for Shelton, as ahead of them, Dustin Nierhoff is the final car to find his way into pit lane. A driver that has suffered a spin or two on his way to this stop. Let's see if a little bit of extra weight on the car with that fuel he needs to get to the end is enough to help him out there. Quayle very wide in the first turn, but it's not quite enough for Kyle Shelton to gain any advantage.
Yeah, this is our closest battle on track right now between these two. Classic battle here, Reese. Ford versus Corvette, Mustang versus Corvette. And we'll see who prevails. But right now, Quayle holding the trump card, sitting in 7th place. Shelton trying to take that away. We've got another close battle here going on between Scott Harrett and Adam Capps. Adam, as you've mentioned, we've seen him trying to falling off the pace a little bit in the high-speed corners, struggling a little bit. Scott Harrett and he had a battle early on. Looks like they're going to renew their battle after the pit cycles have worked their way through.
Indeed. Well, Adam Capps is going to find his way up to Scott Harrah. Capps struggling a little bit on his way through the first stint of this race, but maybe with the pit stop and potentially any minor damage fixed, he will get some pace back. 124.5 on the last lap versus a 124.7 for Scott Harrah. So gains being made by the number 2, and it looks like maybe a little deep there for Mr. Harrah. And so this might open up an opportunity for Capps at the final corner. Just needs to nail the run here through the banked right-hander and out across the curb. Not quite close enough for a move, but well, it's all about traction. Coming up to the next lap here. See all the gravel that's been strewn across the racetrack here too. Seems like we're getting that in a few places around here.
Yeah, they might need to turn the Porsches back into the pits, Reese, and pull out the Volkswagen Beetle rally car to finish this one off. But right now, this battle is still our closest one between Harrah and Capps, as Quayle and Shelton kind of falling apart a little bit. Now about a 2-second gap between Quayle and Shelton. I'm not sure if something happened there. It looks like Kyle Shelton might have had a little bit of an off track. Oh, is Adam Capps going to lose the back end? He's going to keep it off the wall though, but that's going to cost him a ton of time.
And it looks like it's enough for him to call it a night from there. That's a shame there for Adam Capps. Didn't look like that too bad of an incident either. Just caught the gravel on the way in. You got to try and run across the curb on the way into that corner just to widen it and get the straight line going. But oh god, okay, yeah, that's one of my many issues with this track, is those sausage curbs on the inside. They can absolutely destroy your suspension if you hit them wrong. Doesn't look like Kyle Shelton had that issue, but he has lost some time from that. Still, shame to see Adam Capps just pull over after what looked to be a very minor incident. Still had a top 10 in hand.
Yeah, I'm going to assume to take a quote from Zippy Reese. Maybe it's not one of his princess-approved tracks, and he decided that was enough of that, enough curb. I guess he didn't hit the curb. That's enough gravel in the makeshift IRX track for him this evening.
Yes. Well, 8.5 minutes remain, and Parker Dime will continue jetting away in first place, but you'll have to keep an eye out for Dylan Newhart. Looks like Dime's last lap was 2 seconds slower than Newhart's, so something went awry for Parker Dime on his 26th lap. I'm Unsure exactly what. Actually, I think I've just found it. A little run out of turn 6. A little bit deep and... oh, okay. Yeah, turning in a little bit too soon. So that's brought the gap back down to 3.5 seconds at the front of the field. So Dylan Newhart's probably thinking, haha, now it's Parker's turn to have troubles at that point.
Yeah, that's the thing about Laguna is you get so many of those nasty, gnarly curbs around here. Reese, just when you think you got a comfortable lead, snapping off one of those can really throw a wrench into that plan. But Dylan, comfortable pace. He's got 14 seconds over Ethan Reed in third, so not really in much danger of the car behind him. He can just kind of focus forward, trying to put in laps to chase down Parker Dime. But the clock is going to start to be a bit of an enemy here for Dylan, as you can actually see Parker up ahead. He's not too far off up in the distance. He's almost just kind of teasing him at this point in time. You can see that driver up ahead. You're pushing. You don't want to push too hard to really overdrive the car and lose the back end. It's a little bit of a tricky situation. I struggle when I get into this point where I can see the car ahead, but just can't quite find the pace to catch him.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well. We'll see if Newhart can get some consistency going. 122.0 on the last lap for him, so he was quicker than Dime. Ethan Reed on his lonesome, meanwhile. At least in terms of position, he does have a car ahead of him, and that looks like one of the McLarens there.
Drew Trader.
Drew Trader, yes. So Trader, unfortunately, after his long visit to pit lane, lucky 13th at the moment, and the second last car running on the lead. No, not on the lead lap. He is the third last car running out of everybody. We still have Anthony Rosas out there. We have Cayman Lackney out there as well, and then Trader going from last running position up. So Trader isn't dealing with too much in the way of battles, but at least he's going to be seeing the flag and will be getting a few extra points out of this one. 5 laps to go for Trader, and it is going to be the same for the likes of Parker Dime and Dylan Newhart up ahead. Austin Diltz holding on to the top 5. He's been the fastest car on track pretty consistently since he came into the pits. 122.3, taking nearly a second out of Kelman Guri up ahead.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that a potential top 5 was in the cards for him, Reese, and looks like he's going to actually try and go one more and trade P4 away from Kalman Guri. He's got plenty of time to do it, as we still got just over 5, well, exactly 5 minutes now as the clock ticked over. So that's going to be probably 2, maybe 3 more laps if my calculations are correct, Reese. So still some time for him to chase down Kalman Guri, but will he have enough time to get around him?
All right. Find our way back up the hill here for Austin Diltz. Can he nail the apex of turn 6? He certainly can, and he keeps it off the gravel as well. And it is as good a line through turn 6 as you can get. Just ride the curb a little bit on the way into the corkscrew as well. Maybe catch a bit of the dust on your way down the hill. It's a beautiful section of racetrack, this, and it's so entertaining to watch cars find their way through this section. As difficult as I find it, once you nail it, it's one of the most satisfying feelings in the world.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was thinking as you were mentioning it there, Reese. It's a track that I myself not a fan of either, but when you do hit that corkscrew section right, it's just got this blissful feeling like, yes, I finally did it. I may miss it 100 other times, but it's almost like golfing. You hit that one great shot, and it makes you want to come back for another game. See Anthony Rosa, unfortunately for him, not having such of the touchy-feely moments through the corkscrew as we were just talking about.
Yeah, struggling a little bit with the car balance there, it seems, in the number 12, and God knows you need a balanced car around this circuit. Well, Kalman Guri holding on to 4th, but Austin Diltz is coming, and it's again nearly a second advantage in lap time that Austin Diltz manages to maintain here. Going to be 3 laps to go for them when they cross the line next. Parker Dime just getting that now. Giori will be looking in his rearview mirror, rearview camera, I suppose, on the Corvette and on pretty much every GT3 car, I believe. Because Austin Dilts is on his way to challenge for 4th. Got to nail the exit of the final corner. There's a nice smooth turn in there for Kalman. And across the line we'll get our next roster of lap times. It is a 1:22.5 from Giori and a 1:22.0 from Dilts. So things are starting to heat up.
Yeah, Dilts is he's definitely there, Reese. He's within the draft window now, 8/10 back. So we see how quickly he can close up now. See if the dirty air plays a role at all with Austin Dilts, as he's driven that car from the brink of being on the scrap heap all the way back into the top 5, potentially trying to take away top 4. So if he can recover with driving half the race with that car towed out the way it was and get himself a firm P4 and definitely a top 5 finish, that's I think he'd have to win the driver of the race award for that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd put him as my driver of the day for that, for sure. Even if he doesn't succeed in getting past Giori, but it looks like he's on his way to doing that. Look at the confidence with which he attacks the corkscrew. 2 laps to go now up the front of the field, and yeah, it just seems like he's pushing a little bit too hard maybe through that section, but he's still maintaining the pace. Hard on the brakes, try not to activate the ABS too much on your way down to the final corner. The gap now within 0.4 of a second. Across the line they come, and it's a 1:22.2 from Dilts, a 1:22.5 from Giori. Not close enough for a move into turn 1, but it does force Kalman to take a slightly defensive line, and Dilts was carrying a bit too much speed through the middle of the corner. Actually bumped Giori and had to give up a little bit of time.
Yeah, thankfully that didn't go the way of the netcode gods and send them both off track. We can continue to watch this battle race, but it's getting spicy with about a lap and a half to go on this one. We'll see if Dilts can muster up a little extra overspeed here. As you mentioned, the last few laps, he's definitely taken about half a second or so at a Giori each time by, but he's there now, but now it's trying to find a
there we go.
way around. Hopefully it doesn't come to blows. It's just a straight up quality pass, but into the corkscrew they go.
Yeah, poor run for Giori out of turn 6, pushed a bit wide into the gravel. That's brought the advantage back to Dilts a little bit, as that's Ethan Reed that they've just both passed. Austin Dilts now finds himself looking at a potential 3rd place. What on earth happened to Ethan Reed? I think he might have caught the gravel a bit too much coming out of the corkscrew and spun around. So nice run into the corner, but it's the elevation change. If you're a bit too wide in the second part of the corkscrew, that's what happens as Austin Dilts finally makes the move on Giori and finds himself on the podium. It was all set up out of the final corner there, and Dilts was effectively ahead before they even got to the first braking zone. A masterful run out of the last turn. Maybe they were both spooked a little bit there by Ethan Reed having his unfortunate slide, but it is the last lap, and it looks like Parker Dime is coming up to the final corner now. And I mean, Parker this season has been absolutely unstoppable, indomitable, as Tom Baker once said. Parker Dime takes the checkered flag and will add another win to his roster here in the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series. Dylan Newhart finishes in 2nd, and looks like Kalman Giori has lost even more time to Austin Dilts. It seems that final lap has not fallen in Giori's favor. He was very wide out of turn 6 and ended up losing the car. Big damage on the way out of turn 6, and that's put Ethan Reed back into 4th. Dilts, an amazing podium despite having a car that should have been brought into the pits very early on.
Yeah, I don't know how The iRacing black flag system didn't flag him on that one race. I'm very curious to find out, where I've had instances of cars I can drive perfectly fine, but yet I get the meatball flag. So hats off to him anyways, driving that mangled machine back up into the top 3. Well done. As we see Kyle Shelton going to bring it home in 7th place.
8th place for Morgan Smith. And considering the race that he had, it seems 8th is a good result for him. Dustin Nierhoff ultimately only losing 1 position on his debut for the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series, and it looks like our last finisher on the lead lap is going to be the 10th place car of Matt Murphy, all the way up from 16th. A very impressive run.
Yeah, nice job by Matt Murphy. And then Scott Hara, looks like our final car on track. That Aero Connects McLaren, looks like he's going to finish it up in the pits.
Finds his way in. I believe he'd already taken the checkered flag, but we shall see.
And I haven't went official yet. There we go as he crosses.
All right, well, there we go. That's going to round things off then. Parker Dime winning by just under 4 seconds over Dylan Newhard, with Diltz, Reed, and Giori rounding out your top 5. Big shame for Ethan Reed and Kalman Giori in the final couple of laps. Could have been a podium for the both of them, potentially. Well, Jacob Quayle will finish in P6, and Kyle Shelton started 10th up to 7th. Smith, Nierhoff, Murphy, and Hara are going to be your final finishes on the lead lap, and first finishes a lap down. Drew Trader, Ryan Gleason, they will join Hara 1 lap down. It's 2 laps down for Cayman Lackney. Anthony Rosas 4 laps down, and we have retirements from Adam Capps, John Holloway, and Luis Rios, who unfortunately was not able to make it too far into the race. Fozzie Fazillo, it seems, did not take to the start. So, time to have a chat to our winners here. First off, give our winner his roses. Parker Dime at Laguna Seca, getting another win on the roster. It seems like Dylan Newhard provided quite the challenge here today.
Yeah, I mean, the first lap or so, I don't remember if I made a mistake or he caught me in a braking zone, but I didn't want to fight him too much, and then I figured I could keep up with him, so I started to try and fuel save so I can definitely jump him in the pit. And then after that first stint, we were catching traffic, and I decided to duck in. It seemed like he went on to go catch that, which gave me a good buffer on the second stint.
Yeah, certainly did. Newhard did end up getting a few more seconds on you in those later stages. It is a tough track, and I don't think anyone escaped the wrath of turn 6.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a good gap and I saw it come down. I started to make a couple mistakes. Tires were hot. The track was super hot. So, yeah, that kink, you catch that sausage curb, you're going for a ride. So I was able to save it, thank God. But, yeah, I mean, best case scenario came out of that situation.
Yeah, certainly did. Well, another win on the roster. Championship lead extended even further for you, Parker. An excellent round. Is there anyone you want to thank for it?
Yes, to the team, you guys for the broadcast, my wife, anyone who's watching, friends and family, and Prime Motoring. Go get your car tuned.
Yes, maybe it'll be as fast as Parker Dime's Mustang was today. The number 57 will celebrate his podium there as we bring Dylan Newhard into the commentary box. King of Queens, maybe not quite the King of Laguna Seca, but still a solid podium, Rob.
Yeah, Dylan, well done. You kind of held tough with Parker Dime through the first half of the race. Then after the pit stops, he kind of fell back a little bit. Kind of nailed that one sausage curb, the 3 out in the gravel, and look, he just kind of maintained second place from out there. How was your race from your cockpit there at Laguna Seca?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really solid, I'd say, first third of the race. Got up to P1, lap 1, was able to save tires and keep Parker behind me. Wasn't able to save any fuel though. And then got super unlucky with 2 lap cars going up to the corkscrew. And just kind of fell back from there. Driving with a little bit of red mist never helps, but
Yeah, we saw a couple times there where, as you mentioned, the lap traffic was a bit of your nemesis. But next week we head to Hockenheim. Is it a track you feel favorable about, or is it one that you're gonna have to do a little bit of studying this week to find some time?
Well, I'm gonna be $15 poorer after next week. So, I mean, I've heard good things about it. A lot of flat out time from what it looks like. So, we'll see. I actually have time to practice this next week. I wasn't able to practice almost at all because I was up at Watkins Glen this weekend.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, best of luck next week to you. Hockenheim's one of my favorite tracks out there. I find it's got a lot of overtaking opportunities. It's one of those tracks where drivers either love it or hate it. So we'll see. Hopefully, once you make that purchase, you love it. And best of luck to you next week, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Reese.
Well, Dylan Newhard with a well-deserved second place there, and I was really hoping that we get a chance to chat to Austin Diltz, because goodness me, Austin. My first question to you is, have you gone back and checked how your car looked in the first stint after that crash?
No, but my wheel was really, really tilted, and it was really tough even to keep it on track. Was it bad?
Oh, yes, it was. Rob and I were genuinely flummoxed as to why you didn't get a mechanical black flag. That rear right was pointed towards San Francisco, basically.
Yeah, it was crab walking down the straights pretty bad.
Well, regardless, you managed to hold on to the pace in spite of that and put yourself in a position for a top 5, and then it was all about just keeping it on track as those around you made mistakes.
Yeah, I just kind of locked in, tried to chase Kalman, and then as I got closer, he started to go quicker, and I didn't think it would happen, and then Ethan spawned, and everything kind of coalesced into getting a podium out of being like last, which was wild.
Well, it's a solid points day for you here at Laguna Seca in spite of your issues. You may have a bit of an easier time of it at Hockenheim, a former Formula One circuit with tarmac runoffs and basically no elevation change to speak of. Traction was important here at Laguna Seca, but it'll be even more important next round.
Hockenheim's one of my favorites. I don't want to be too confident, but I'm going for the win at that one for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing how you go there, Austin. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Oh, yeah. Thanks to my wife for letting me do this. Thanks to my dad for watching, the team, WBM, and you guys for putting a great broadcast on. So thank you.
Austin Diltz there, third place here tonight, and we'll obviously be able to chat to him again at Hockenheim, all things going well. Well, Rob, that's going to bring proceedings to an end for tonight, and the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series turning on the action once again. Some big surprises here at Laguna Seca. I'm looking forward to Hockenheim in a week's time.
Yeah, Hockenheim should be a good one, Reese. I'm not sure who's going to be in the car for the pit road production side of things, but I suspect we'll see a ton of excitement. We did the WBM guys in the other league last season. They went to Hockenheim, and it produced a ton of competitive action, so I expect more of the same.
I certainly do as well. Well, if you joined us here live on the Pit Road Productions YouTube channel, thank you so much for riding along with us here at what was a scintillating race. And if you have come up on us here on the VOD, so to speak, thank you very much for clicking on this video and watching. There is more to come. And of course, in the description, there is a link to the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series Discord that you can jump into if you're interested in racing in this series. Always looking for more drivers. I'm Reese Gardner, Rob Campbell alongside me in the commentary box and producing behind the scenes here on Pit Road Productions. See you next time.